Hello students, welcome back. In the last session, we were discussing about interfaces in Java. Interfaces are similar to classes, but interface only includes abstract methods and final fields. In the last session, we have studied how an interface is defined in Java. And we have also seen a simple interface example in the last session. In today's session, we will continue our discussion of interfaces. So let's start. Extending interfaces. Like a class can inherit from another class, even an interface can inherit from another interface, and this is called as extending interfaces. An interface can be sub-interfaced from other interfaces, means one interface can inherit from another interface. The new interface will inherit all the members of the super interface in the manner similar to subclasses. Now, extending interfaces, it is similar to extending classes, where one class inherits all the properties of the superclass. Same way, even an interface can inherit properties of super interface. Now look at this syntax, how one interface can inherit from another interface. Now the syntax is very similar. So we have interface name2, this is the name of the interface, and the keyword extends is used again. Keyword extends is used to inherit from another interface, and name of the interface from which we want to inherit. So this simply means the interface name2 is extending, or it is inheriting from interface name1. So name1 is a super interface and name2 is a sub interface, and we have the body of name2 interface. And this is very helpful when we want to put all the constants in one interface and methods in another interface. So this inheritance of interface, it is helpful, because what we can do is an interface simply includes abstract methods and final fields, that is final variables. So we can include final variables in one interface, and we can declare the abstract methods in another interface. We can separate both, and one interface can inherit the other interface. One example is given here, you can look at this. We have interface item constants, and this simply includes all the constant variables. You can see int code 1001 and string name fan. As we have studied, all the variables in interface are by default constants. So even though this variable is not declared as final, by default these variables are final variables. Okay, then we have one more interface. The interface is item, and this interface includes one method, display. So there is a separation. The final fields have been included in one interface, that is item constant, and methods, abstract method, have been included in another interface. But this item interface is also extending the interface, that is item constant interface. It is extending item constant interface. That means item interface also contains the properties of item constant interface. Okay, so like a class can inherit from another class, even an interface can inherit from another interface. Okay, now one thing to remember here, when one interface inherits from another interface, the keyword which is used, it is extends keyword. Remember this. Okay, next, implementing interfaces. Now in the last case we have seen extending interfaces, and in this case we will study implementing interfaces. When one interface inherits from another interface, then it is called as extending interfaces. Remember, one interface inherits from another interface, it is called as extending interfaces. But when one class inherits from another interface, then it is called as implementing interfaces. What is implementing interfaces? When a class inherits from an interface, it is called as implementing interfaces. Okay, interfaces are used as superclasses. We can use an interface as a superclass whose properties are inherited by classes. A class can inherit the properties of interface. It is therefore necessary to create a class that inherits given interface, and you can see one example here how a class can inherit the interface. So we have class name. Now just concentrate on the keyword which is used for inheritance here. The keyword which is used, it is implements keyword, remember, and we have the interface name. Now this is important to understand. When one class inherits from another class, the keyword which is used, it is extends keyword. But when one class inherits from an interface, the keyword which has to be used, it is implements keyword, and this is very, very important. You need to remember this. When a class inherits an interface, you need to use the keyword that is implements keyword, and that is why it is called as implementing interfaces. Then we have a body of a class. Here the class name, as I have said, implements the interface name. A more general form of implementation may look like this. We have one more example. This is a more general form. You can see we have a class name extends superclass and implements interface 1, interface 2, any number of interfaces. Now a class at the same time can inherit from both. It can inherit from a class as well as it can inherit from a interface. If a class is inheriting from another class as well as it is inheriting from an interface, the syntax may look like this. The syntax is class name extends superclass, the class from which it is inheriting, and then implements the interface name from which it wants to inherit. And again you can see there are multiple interfaces from which we are inheriting. As we have studied in the last session, we can inherit from multiple interfaces. In Java we cannot inherit from multiple classes. I cannot say here class name extends superclass, superclass 1, superclass 2, superclass 3, because inheriting from multiple classes, it is not allowed in Java. Multiple inheritance is not allowed in Java, but we can implement multiple interfaces. Means in Java we can inherit from multiple interfaces, but we cannot inherit from multiple classes. Remember this, important. So we have implements interface 1, interface 2, any number of interfaces, then the body of a class. Okay, this is how a class can inherit from another class and as well as interfaces. Okay, let us look at one example here. Okay, we have an interface. Name of the interface is area, and this interface defines variable pi with the value 3.14. So this is final static variable, remember, and it also contains a method. The method is compute, which takes 2 arguments, and look at this method, it is terminated by a semicolon. There is no body for a method because it is interface. It has been defined in the interface. Okay, then we have a class rectangle, and class rectangle is inheriting the interface area. Now, as I have said, to inherit from interface, the keyword which is used, it is implements keyword. Okay, when a class inherits from an interface, keyword implements is used. Okay, it is inheriting area. As the rectangle inheriting area, it is inheriting area, rectangle class needs to redefine the method which is included in area. The method is compute, and that is the reason rectangle class is overriding the method compute or redefining the method compute. So public float compute x comma y, and here we have a body for the method. As per the definition, the class which inherits an interface should provide implementation for all the methods which have been defined in the interface. So rectangle is inheriting area, and that is the reason it is providing implementation for the method compute which is defined in area interface. And what we have, it is simply returning x into y, that is the area of rectangle it is returning. Same way we have one more class, you can see class circle, and even class circle is implementing interface area. So even this is inheriting area interface, and again even circle is providing implementation for compute method, but implementation of circles compute is different from rectangles compute, remember. So in circle it is returning the area of a circle, that is calculated by using pi into x, which is received here, and it is returned. Okay, then we have our main class interface test, and inside the main, first we have created an object of rect, that is the class rectangle, and then we have created an object of class circle. Then we have also created object of interface area. As we have studied in earlier session, we cannot instantiate an object of interface. We can declare an object of interface, like here we have declared object of interface area, but we cannot instantiate it like a class. Here you can see here we have instantiated a class circle CIRD is equals to new circle. So to instantiate, the keyword new is used, but when it comes to interface, we cannot instantiate it. We can simply declare an object, but we cannot instantiate it, remember. Then what we have done is, we have assigned the reference of class rectangle to area object. Now even this is possible. We can assign a reference of a class to the interface object. When it is possible? When the interface is the super interface. When it is possible? When the interface is a super interface. That means the object's class needs to inherit that interface. In this case, if you look at the rectangle is inheriting area interface, and that is the reason we can assign the reference of rectangle to area. And what we have done after that, system.out.println, area of rectangle is equals to area, that is this object, dot compute, area dot compute, and we are passing 10 comma 20. So this will call the compute method of class rectangle, because we have assigned the reference of rectangle to area, and that is the reason when I say area dot compute, this will go to the compute method of class rectangle, which simply returns x into y, that is 10 into 20 it will return, and that will be printed because it is inside the print statement. Same way, then we have changed the reference of area. Initially area was assigned to rect, now area is assigned to another object, that is circle. So when I say area dot compute now, this will call the compute method of class circle, because now area is pointing to circle object. So when I say compute 10 comma 0, so this will, x will have value 10, y will 0. Anyways, y is not used in this formula. We are simply saying pi into 10 into 10, and the value is written back, and that is displayed on the screen. Okay, so this program simply explains how an interface is defined. That is the first thing. Secondly, how a class can inherit the interface. That is the second thing. And lastly, how we can access the methods of interface that we have studied in this particular program. Okay, with this we will stop here in today's session. In the next session again we will continue our discussion of interface. In the next session we will study different forms of interface, and then we will also study difference between abstract class and an interface. Okay, so we will stop here today. Thank you.